Pleasure to be joined in our second episode of Bearcat Chats with Investigator Robert Meddleton of the University Police Department. Investigator Meddleton, thanks so much for the time.
No problem, Jacob.
Tell me, students are moving out. They're in off-campus apartments around the city. What are the steps they should be taking primarily to ensure the safety of their property and their belongings?
Well, a lot of it's the common sense. Make sure that your doors are locked. Make sure your windows are locked. Go back and check them. If you found that the apartments have problems with issue with locking doors or windows, contact your landlord. Actually ask your landlord to install cameras if possible. I know that's not always going to happen. They won't. But so basically pull your shades down. Don't let anybody be able to see inside. Really, the biggest thing is, if possible, take all your valuable possessions home. Take your TVs, your Xboxes, your jewelry, your expensive shoes or clothes. Take them home with you if possible. Obviously, that's not always possible depending on where you live, so you're going to leave some stuff. So you got to, there's a couple different things you can do. You could leave a light on. Make it look like somebody's home. If you've made contact or friends with neighbors, have them check on the property. I'll also give you some advice on how you can have Binghamton Police Department when manpower allows to check on the property, and I'll give you a name and contact for that.
Yeah, tell us about that and that contact information, because that's an extraordinarily generous program that I think the University Police should be commended for.
Okay, so we instituted that back in December. So Lieutenant David Bidwell with the Binghamton Police Department, he's also in charge of the crime prevention in Binghamton, and he also runs the Southern Tier Crime Analysis Center. So his contact is D Bidwell, BIDWELL, at cityofbinghamton.com. So what you could do is contact him, email him, or you can email myself, which is Meddlet, RMEDDLET at binghamton.edu, and ask that if you're going to be leaving stuff behind, that you can have your properties checked. Is it 100% foolproof? No, it's not, but it is better than nothing, especially if you have to leave some stuff behind.
Well, we were saying, Investigator Middleton, before we got started, it can't hurt.
It can't hurt. It can only help. So there was approximately 10 or so that took part in that over the winter break. I'd like to see that increase more, because especially at this day and age where a lot of people are home, and Binghamton is doing a lot of checks on the businesses in this time, but it wouldn't hurt to be having them check the houses, and they'll do that. And if you have an issue with a certain door or a window that the landlord isn't fixing, let them know that in the email. They're more than happy to put that out to all the patrols and the supervisors to do that.
What are the things, Investigator Middleton, that burglars are primarily going after? Is it money? Is it property damage? Is it valuables?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, the property damage is occurring if, in fact, the doors and the windows are locked. They're kicking in doors and they're breaking windows. And then what we're finding, a lot of the actual individual rooms in the apartments are locked, but they're kicking those doors in. So there's some property damage there. But they're going after money. They're going after watches, jewelry, your expensive sneakers, coats, TVs, if possible. So anything that's got a value they're going to take. And obviously a lot of that is occurring in the middle of the night. And if there's nobody home, they have ample time to be in there to rifle through everything that they can find valuable. Obviously, they're not going to take couches and everything else out of there, but anything they can to get out that door, they will.
And are these burglaries of a violent nature, or is it a matter of neighbors especially being vigilant or just knowing who's supposed to be entering and exiting a house?
It's not violent. No, they're not going in primarily if somebody's there.
Right.
So it's just all property crime. But obviously the neighbors are asleep as well. I mean, in this day and age, a lot of people have Ring doorbell cameras and whatnot, which helps quite a bit. They did make a pretty good arrest over the winter break of an individual that was breaking into a lot of those houses. With that in my, this isn't fact, but I would say was probably responsible for a lot of these burglaries. So that's helpful. And he was identified through some camera work, and one of the detectives recognizing who that was.
And for students who have valuables, the bulkier kind that can't be necessarily transported home, are there storage facilities or other places they can store them over the summer?
That's a good point. There are a number of storage facilities around. There's a U-Haul that's right down on Front Street in the city of Binghamton. I don't know all the other places, but yeah, that's a good point, Jacob. That they could, if they can't bring this stuff home because they live out of the country or farther away from home, it's a pretty reasonable priced alternative to store their belongings.
And lastly, any advice for just folks in general, especially not sure the effect that social distancing has had in terms of if burglars feel more empowered, but just any last minute advice to people as they head into the summer?
Just use common sense. I mean, this is unprecedented times that we're dealing with, and I think the social distancing and stuff like that has had an effect, hopefully, from this area at least, for what we're seeing. So it's just all common sense. I think even right from down to the thefts to this whole virus thing, it's just common sense. Take the precautions necessary to be safe.
Investigator Meddleton, thank you for all you and your staff and your department are doing to help keep students and their belongings safe. Appreciate the time and wishes to you and your staff for continued good health.
Thank you for those words, Jacob, and stay safe yourself, as well as all the students.